what shall we broach?
Let's talk a little insurance.
Okay.
You want to talk a little insurance?
Sure.
I like insurance. Yeah. Insurance is good to have. And, I recommend having insurance.
So earlier in the program, we made mention of what I believe to be a long-standing trend in the automotive industry, which is like peer pressure determines kind of the direction and the decision-making in a lot of these auto manufacturers. So Tesla, not the first to do this, I believe, or I'm sorry, Tesla was the first to do this.
Right.
Rivian is now entering the game. I kind of let the cat out of the bag there by accident. Oops. But Rivian is now getting into the insurance game on its automobile. So Tesla kind of started that. And we podcasted on that a little bit and talked about, well, Tesla has access, again, we discussed earlier in this program, to the black box, to your car's data recorder. If you get in an accident, they're going to use that to determine whose fault it was. I mean, I'm pretty sure that's going to be the case.
Right.
So whereas like a third-party company like an Allstate or a State Farm or Shelter or whatever, they don't, unless you give them that information, they're not going to have it. Okay.
Right.
So Rivian is entering the insurance business. I would assume this is only going to apply to their manufactured vehicles. What do you got, Jay?
Well, what they're saying as a startup, Rivian does not want to be subjected to what legacy insurance companies will say it costs to repair its vehicles. Typically a minor crash could indicate a write-off. The whole idea with the Rivian insurance, the automaker plans to offer lower premiums, which will give, in turn, less time in body shops and a no-hassle experience when dealing with its accidents, which are already a massive headache. It kind of makes sense because they are offering a vehicle that is intended for off-road use. I mean, we've said that previous podcast. Go check it out.
They're saying it like they're showing you video of it.
Yes, they are planning on offering in 40 different states in the beginning, integrated with the digital ordering process for any of the company's vehicles. The policy will cover not only off-road activity but also accessories such as the rooftop tent, which we just podcasted about, and we've got a video on our YouTube channel. Go check it out at youtube.com. Parts Counter Gurus. But the rooftop tent, they have the famous kitchen, the camp kitchen that is there. I mean, you have these things on board. You want to make sure that they are insured properly. But it also gives Rivian, they're in the driver's seat with this. And I think it also kind of demands or commands brand loyalty. It's a startup company.
Yeah. So I think this goes back to two things, like your point earlier about the cost of repairs and sort of dealing with that third party. Did you notice, now I'm looking at Green Car Reports, there's commenting, Rivian will use vehicle connectivity and its knowledge as the manufacturer to diagnose problems. Just like I said, they're going to use that data recorder, and they're going to use a lot of their internal analytics in terms of claims. They better be careful there because if they upset too many of their loyal owners by denying claims, I just am not sure how that's going to,
Well, they can recognize your driving habits, like you said. Now, this is nothing new. My insurance company offered me a dongle that I could plug in, and again, it's a device where they track your accelerating habits, your braking habits, those sorts of things, which will impact your premium. Why that's not a good thing, really, if you're a consumer, while it works great for the insurance company, let's talk real world, and this ties back into what we were talking about with AI and the Tesla crash. There are things that happen that aren't what they appear. And that data recorder is going to be collecting data based on the points that the information coming in. But that information coming in is only in most cases getting a very small portion of what actually happened. What were you doing? Did you have a cup of coffee in your hand and it dropped in your lap and burned your legs and you accelerated? Did you fall asleep? Or did a cat run across in front of your car and you hit the brakes because you're a cat lover? Or even a squirrel. You don't want to hit a squirrel. I mean, who wants to hit a squirrel, right? Anyway. Dodge squirrel. Have you ever played? No, never mind. Never mind, you didn't hear that. But seriously, I would not want to take out a squirrel. And I do slow down for them or I stop for them. But
it depends on if there's somebody tailgating me or not. I mean,
this is true. But those are, circumstances, which is something else that dongle is not going to be able to, that data is not going to be able to tell what's going on with the driver road raging you because you're not moving fast enough. And I'm not
trying to stir the pot. I'm just pointing out that they have more access than some of the third parties do. Now,
no, I agree with you.
Did you see, there are a couple things here that caught my eye. Number one, they pointed to the fact that Tesla got into the game because of the third parties that I just mentioned claiming abnormally high claim rates on Teslas, and Tesla went, well, come on, knock this off. We'll get involved.
Right.
Because they need to make sure that Model S's are expensive. They need to make sure those people can get. If that car becomes too expensive to insure, people won't buy it. If it costs twice as much or 1.5 times as much to insure a Model S as it does one of its rivals, they're going to lose sales over that. So the other thing that they pointed out that I think is interesting is that Rivian is planning to bundle things like auto, home, and boat policies together. So you could potentially get your home insurance through Rivian.
Yeah, so that's a big deal. There is a lot of money to be made as a provider. So this, them being a startup and them doing this could gain them, that revenue they need initially anyway. And if they continue to do it like Tesla has done, it'll be a successful program for them. But again, as we were just pointing out, it doesn't come without you giving up certain information. And you, as a consumer, you need to weigh those options and see if that's, now, have you heard? Is this Keith? And maybe you do, maybe you don't know. I don't know. Now, is this something that Rivian is going to be forcing their buyers to get?
The data that I've got says that you can opt in, if you're a customer, you can opt in to a discount for use of the Rivian's driver aids.
Right.
But if you opt in, the incentive there is that you get a discount. Okay.
Sure.
But the trade-off is that you have to let them track how much you're using those safety features. They're tracking your driving habits, just like you just said.
Right.
So it does look like there is, at least on some level, there are some opt-in, opt-out options.
I wonder, though, if they will partner up with other providers. Let's say...
Oh, I would, no doubt.
You want to go the traditional way and say, let's just throw out a name, State Farm. You want to go State Farm. That's who you've been with all these years. That's who you want to go. Would they partner up with them to ensure that Rivian is not getting... a bad end of the deal, which makes sense. And like you said, with Tesla, one of the reasons what's helpful to them is the fact that they know exactly what's going on with the vehicles. And then, based on, or they know they have access to the data that will lead them down the right path, put it that way. And again, I'm still questioning the recent Tesla crash in Texas as to, they're claiming that nobody was physically driving it. But you have a guy in the passenger front seat and a guy in the passenger rear seat, but nobody driving it. I don't know. I find that weird. But anyway, so I commend Rivian for doing this. This is bold. They're going about everything very boldly.
Right.
I think that Rivian's going to be successful. And if you're going to compete with Tesla, that's what you got to do, man. This is get into the ring. This is exactly what you have to do. Their commitment to the off-roading community is quite obvious. And this sort of stuff just kind of plays right into it. You know, their powertrain warranty, man. I mean, that they have is just unbelievable. We talked about that in the previous podcast. Yeah. There's a video on that as well.
It's out there right now.
I mean, 175,000. Now, it's not. They have 175,000 mile, 8-year, 175,000 mile on the battery and powertrain. Bumper to bumper, I think, is 5 years, 60,000.
Yeah, I think that's right.
But Tesla, and I think I said this in a previous podcast that Rivian was the longest. It's actually not. From a mileage standpoint, Tesla's actually unlimited mileage. But they have a shorter bumper to bumper. Theirs is only like 4 years, 50,000 on the bumper to bumper. So, but still,
but our point was that those organizations were pushing the threshold of the traditional manufacturers, where
right,
you know, like in the old days with Ford or General Motors, you got 3 years, 36,000 miles,
right,
and you know then
Hyundai. Then Hyundai steps into the ring.
Chrysler before that started offering a longer powertrain warranty.
That was a lifetime.
Yeah.
They gave it a lifetime powertrain warranty. And when they first came out with that, I got to tell you, I was floored. I'm like, that's impossible. You can't do that. You're going to go broke.
It was single owner. It was they knew that you weren't going to keep those things. They had the data. And they needed to make sales, you know, and they were using
it. They did. Yeah. That was a desperation thing. But, you know, it's like going into auto parts stores. I remember years ago when the lifetime warranty came out on, like, brake pads. It's like, how do you warranty brake pads for life, man? I mean, that's
they just knew you'd lose your receipt, and they had, you know, and that's true, you know.
Then technology kind of caught up with them because you didn't have to have your receipt as long as you were in the system, which was a better tracking device for the retail outlets. But then you started seeing them change them to limited lifetime warranty where, well, we're going to give you a set of pads 2 times, dude.
Well,
that's 100,000 miles, you know.
And so. I had a now you're pulling me into a rabbit hole. So I used to have a Toyota 4Runner. It was an 86. I think this is
not a Toyota 86, but a Toyota 4Runner that was an 86.
The Back to the Future front end had the removable fiberglass top on the back with the roll bar and all that. Mm-hmm. And I went to a big box automotive parts chain that shall remain nameless, and I needed new spark plugs. I mean, the thing had like 200,000 miles on it. I mean, it was okay. And the guy like talked me into the top of the line, like they were 1.5 times more than, you know.
Please tell me it was not the split fire spark plugs.
No, it wasn't split fires. I don't think it was.
Do you remember those?
Yeah, oh yeah. Do
you remember those? Do you remember what the big problem was with those?
I don't. No.
You could never gap them appropriately.
Oh, right.
I remember.
Yeah, because
I was the general manager of an auto parts store that they took that line on, and they were selling them, and they were warrantying them. I had so many packs of those things thrown back in my face because they didn't work. And I pulled them off the shelf in my own store. My regional manager came in and threatened to write me up for it. And I proved to him why it was a problem. And it wasn't long after that they pulled them out of their entire company.
I hate to say I told you so.
Electrodes, right? You got electrodes, and you got, right? So you try to gap something evenly that moves like this.
Yeah.
You could never gap it appropriately.
So they weren't split fires, and I do remember those. And they got, anyway, so
they were junk.
At some point, I think I had an O2 sensor go out. Okay? Mm-hmm. And so when that happens, right, it affects your mixture. It affects, you know,
a lot of everything.
I don't even know for sure if this was my 86 4Runner. I just remember I had that vehicle at the time, and that's why I'm thinking it was this vehicle. Anyway, the plugs were thrashed and trashed. Like I, you know, pulled them back out 6 months or a year later or whatever, and they were shot. And I took my receipt and I marched right back into the auto parts counter, and I went, here are my, you know, jacked up plugs that are all black, and here's my receipt for the lifetime warranty. I want a new set. And the guy was like, no. And I went, okay, what? It's lifetime warranty. And he went, I can tell by looking at these plugs that you have an engine problem, and this is not covered under that warranty. And I went, all right, well, you didn't tell me that when you upsold me, but I not shopping here anymore, but okay. And he had a fair point. I mean,
sure he did.
It wasn't the fault of the plugs, you know. But
right.
you better tell me when I buy them that you're looking for an out to not honor this thing.
Right, and that is my very point when it comes to lifetime warranties. And we, like you said, we went down in this rabbit hole, but with Chrysler and their limited lifetime warranty or their lifetime powertrain warranty,
yeah.
But I tell you, that only lasted for a short amount of time.
Right,
they didn't do it forever.
It got expensive.
It got really expensive for them, and because they weren't building the greatest vehicles at that time either. So. And some of that's questionable still to this day, but we'll save that for another podcast. So look, warranty with Rivian, their own insurance, they came to play, pal. They came to play, and they're not messing around. I'm hoping that, because we've been talking about this since we started podcasting about Rivian specifically. And now it's coming to fruition. Models will be available, I think they're saying later this summer, early fall. And for those of you who are Lordstown fans, I think that Rivian's going to be the first EV truck out there. So we'll see.
You're just stirring the pot there, aren't you?
Nah, never. Wouldn't do that. I'm like 99% sure that Rivian's going to be the first. It won't be Lordstown. I'm still waiting on that one, so we'll see what happens. That'd be cool if they did, though. I prove me wrong. Prove me wrong.
There you go.
I don't see it happening. So anyway, there you go.